The Third Crusade, Renaissance Italy, the rise of the Borgias, the rise of Suleiman the Magnificent, the American Revolution, the Caribbean Golden Pirate Age, the 7 Years' War, the French Revolution, Victorian London, Ptolemaic Egypt, the Peloponnesian War, and finally, the Great Heathen Army invasion of England. What do all these historical time periods have in common? The answer is simple. They've all been settings used by Ubisoft for an Assassin's Creed game. And me, being a history nerd, I would say this: give me all. Give me all the historical settings, man! The settings is what got me into Assassin's Creed in the first place. And recently, like many Assassin's Creed fans, I've been asking this question: what if there was a game that was set during the
insert historical setting here?
When asking that question, one answer always came into my mind. What if there was a game set during the Aztec Empire? And recently, it got me thinking. I was asking myself if such a setting could work for Assassin's Creed. And how would such a game look like? Or if it even was possible. The more that I thought about it, the more positive I was that such a game would work indeed. How? And why will it work? Let's find out! But first, some context about the setting. The Triple Alliance, or most commonly known as the Aztec Empire, was made up of the city-states of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco and Tlacopan, and the tributary states around the Mexican Valley. The Aztec sphere of influence stretched from modern-day central Mexico to the southern area of the country. Despite the three city-states were equal on paper, it is well known that the city of Tenochtitlan and its Huaytlatoni, the term used by the Aztecs for emperor, enjoyed the most power of the three, to a point where they distributed the spoils of war and the tribute given by the other tributary states as they pleased, thus making Tenochtitlan a metropolis in the region. And during its height, the Spanish conquistadors believed that the city had reached a population of 200,000 inhabitants, which would have made it the largest city in the Americas and one of the largest cities in the entire world. The Aztecs were unchallenged in the region until the Spanish conquistadors made contact, where Hernán Cortés and his 3,000 Spanish conquistadors, together with the native allies and the rivals of the Aztecs, the Tlaxcala and the Totonicapán states, in which together they had around 200,000 troops between them, attacked the heart of the Aztec Empire, until Tenochtitlan was the only city standing. The city was ravaged by diseases brought by the invaders, and certainly wasn't ready for a siege. On the 13th of August, 1521, the once mighty and proud city of Tenochtitlan fell and brought the end of the proud and infamous Aztec Empire and the Mexica people. The city was ransacked, and a few years later the Spanish conquistadors conquered the kingdom of Tarsacan in the north, and in return creating the Viceroyalty of New Spain, in which in time will encompass Mexico, large parts of Central and the Western United States, Central America, Venezuela, Cuba, Hispaniola, and the Philippines. The Aztecs themselves is the reason why I think an Assassin's Creed game set during this time period would just work. I can't remember any video game set during this time period or the conquest of the Americas, and thus, such a game will be very unique in terms of visuals and atmosphere. Seeing the collision of these cultures, completely alien to each other. One of them sacrifices people to his gods on a regular basis, and the other wear weapons and equipment that must have been given to them by the gods. Such a clash of cultures, beliefs, and people will make this the most unique Assassin's Creed game we got so far. As you know, parkour is a staple in the franchise, but would such a system work in such a setting? The answer is simple: yes it would. As I already mentioned before, the city of Tenochtitlan was huge for the time period. It was a city filled with merchants, artisans, filled with markets, people traveling on boats through the city canals. It was truly the Venice of the Americas. So of course, parkour would work in such a setting. A game like this could work very similarly to how Assassin's Creed 2 cities work, where you have multiple cities to explore, and it was just that. Cities. No empty spaces between the cities. No random bandit camps. No forts. Thus, bringing the game much closer to the original formula. You can still have segments outside of the cities, however they should all be linear. Segments like this could be used mostly in the endgame, where some mysterious Ezio temple might be hiding in the jungle or in a cave somewhere. From what we know so far in the Assassin's Creed lore, there was already contact between the assassins and the Aztecs. Giovanni Borgia, the son of Lucrezia and nephew of Cesare Borgia, was an assassin that was tasked to travel to Tenochtitlan to recover a piece of Eden, which resulted to be a crystal skull that was used by a priest during human sacrifices, to which he manages to get his hands on it by killing the priest. Such event could feature in the game to make the main character understand more the role of the assassins and the piece of Eden. When it comes to the Templars, we don't know yet if Cortez was one of them, but it is safe to assume that he either was, or at least heavily influenced by them. In fact, Cortez brought with him a dagger of Eden, one of the 3 prongs of the Trident of Eden, so it's safe to assume that he had some knowledge of the precursors and the pieces of Eden themselves. Such a game would need to have a unique structure, a structure that we haven't seen so far in the Assassin's Creed series. The first part of the game should be the protagonist's main story, how he or she learned the ideas of the assassins and setting up the first bureau in Tenochtitlan to prevent the city from falling under Templar influence. As the game goes by, the character will learn that other cities in the region, like the already mentioned cities of Texcoco and Tlacopan, have fallen under Templar hands, and thus the character travels to these cities and eliminate the people that are part of the order, the people that are trying to corrupt the nation. While doing so, the character recruits civilians to the cause, similar to what Brotherhood did, and establish more bureaus in the area, thus establish a great assassin presence in the region. And with this, we move on into the second part of the story. The Spanish monarchs would have learned about this, thus they would have hired Cortez to conquer the land, to eliminate the assassin presence, and thus the second part of the game should be focused more on the siege of Tenochtitlan. During this siege, the assassins will lose the bureau, and lose everyone and everything the assassins held dear, thus starting the revenge plot against Cortez. The third and final act, the assassin will follow Cortez along his conquest, but never actually manage to hunt him down, since he always managed to escape at the very last minute. In the meantime, the assassin will assassinate Templars and allies of Cortez along the way, until, after years of searching for him, the assassins will find him in Spain on his deathbed, to which the assassin helped nature take its course and ends Cortez's life. Now you can see why I feel that the Spanish Conquest of the Aztecs is my ideal Assassin's Creed setting. It's a mixture of everything, different cultures, different people, different religion and different beliefs. And I really feel that one day we will get such a game. Hopefully it will be good, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you for watching everyone, and I hope I see you in the next video. Goodbye and have a good one.